Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we get to play the role of archaeological detectives. We are diving into one of the absolute most fascinating, highly advanced civilizations of the ancient world, the Indus Valley. Between roughly 2800 BCE and 1800 BCE, this massive society flourished right along the Indus River in what is now modern-day Pakistan and India. But how do we actually know what their day-to-day lives were like? Well, we have to look really closely at what they left behind in the dirt. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with an introduction to the Indus Valley, take a look at their urban planning, explore their standardization and sanitation, track their trade connections, tackle a common misconception along with a quick student check, and then finish up with a lesson recap. All right, Section 1, Intro to the Indus Valley and Studying Ancient Clues. Before we get too far in, we really need to understand the tools historians use to study a society that is over 4,000 years old. The absolute most crucial point here is understanding the difference between evidence and inference. Evidence is the physical stuff, the actual artifacts we dig up. It's an undeniable fact, a piece of pottery, a brick, a stone seal. An inference, on the other hand, is the logical story we build to explain why that brick or seal is there in the first place. As historians, we have to be incredibly careful to distinguish what we literally have in our hands from the cautious conclusions we're making about how these ancient people actually lived. And this brings us to a massive mystery, which perfectly illustrates why we rely so heavily on material evidence. The people of the Indus Valley actually had a writing system. We found seals with over 400 unique signs. But the catch? We simply cannot read them. Unlike ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, we haven't found a translation key. We have zero written records of their laws, no names of their rulers, no written myths. So everything we're looking at today is built entirely on the physical material evidence left in their cities. We have to let the stones do the talking. Moving right along to Section 2, Evidence of Urban Planning. Let's see what those stones actually tell us about their massive settlements. When archaeologists started excavating huge sites like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they immediately noticed the cities were divided into two starkly contrasting sections. You've got the upper citadel and the lower city. The upper citadel was built on these massive mud brick platforms. Some of these were walled off with bricks that were 42 feet thick at the base. This upper area contained huge public baths and platforms for what we infer were ritual activities. Then you have the lower city. This was the sprawling residential area, completely packed with workshops and homes built around central courtyards. But it wasn't just a jumble of houses. The evidence shows these cities were built on an incredibly sophisticated, organized grid of streets using standardized brick sizes. This wasn't random. It suggests a highly advanced level of central planning. Some of the residential homes were actually multi-story buildings with up to 30 rooms. They even had these clever architectural devices on their roofs designed to literally pump wind down into the homes to cool them off. That is some serious engineering for the ancient world. From this evidence, we can confidently infer that there was some form of central authority guiding how these cities were constructed. Which perfectly tees up Section 3, Sanitation and Standards. Their planning didn't stop at street layouts. They were obsessed with exact measurements and keeping things clean. Check this out. The physical evidence shows they used a unit of measurement as tiny as 1.6 millimeters. That is incredibly precise. You just don't create a ruler with a 1.6 millimeter marking unless you are manufacturing things that require that exact level of minute precision. This tells us their engineers and artisans were operating at a wildly sophisticated level. And it gets even more fascinating. Historians discovered that 13.67 grams was their basic unit of weight. Identical cubical stone weights weighing exactly 13.67 grams have been found scattered across a massive geographical area, encompassing over 1,000 different settlements. So the repetition of this exact weight is our physical evidence. From that, we inferred they had a highly regulated, standardized commercial system across hundreds of miles, probably to assess goods for barter, or maybe even to collect tax payments from massive city greeneries. Now let's talk about something we all appreciate today, plumbing. The evidence of indoor toilets and drainage systems is vast. In cities like Mohenjo-daro, houses were equipped with private wells providing running water straight into the bathrooms. The wastewater then flowed out into an elaborate citywide drainage network. They even had removable covers on the street drains so workers could clean them out. Plus, they built massive communal facilities, like the famous Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro, which had a tank 40 feet long. This level of water engineering and focus on sanitation was completely unrivaled at the time. Okay, on to Section 4, Trade Connections.
We know they were highly advanced at home, but how far did their network reach?
Let's use the Claim Evidence Reasoning Framework, or CER, to figure out exactly how archaeologists prove that Indus merchants were sailing across the Indian Ocean. Our claim is that the Indus Valley engaged in vast international trade. Our evidence? What we found uniquely carved Indus stone seals all the way over in ancient Sumerian cities in Mesopotamia. We've also uncovered a massive dockyard and warehouse at the coastal Indus city of Lothal. So what's our reasoning? Mesopotamians couldn't have just made those Indus seals themselves, and you definitely don't build a massive dockyard unless you're shipping significant cargo. Therefore, we infer a sprawling maritime trade network connecting the Indus Valley to the Middle East.
Section 5. Misconceptions and Student Check. Let's put our detective skills to the test and separate some facts from fiction. Because we see these perfectly organized cities on grids with standard weights, it's really easy to jump to conclusions. So here's a question. Did a single, all-powerful king rule the entire Indus Valley? I mean, when we look at ancient Egypt, we see giant pyramids built for pharaohs. In Mesopotamia, we see massive royal palaces. So what do we see in the Indus Valley?
Well, that idea of a single emperor is actually a myth. The fact is, we haven't found any grand palaces or monumental royal tombs. We have public baths, granaries, and incredibly organized streets, which undeniably points to a strong administration. But because of the total lack of royal palaces, historians cautiously infer that this might have been a collection of independent city-states, or perhaps power was shared very differently here than in Egypt or Sumer.
All right, let's do a quick student check. Imagine you are the archaeologist. You dig up a stone weight in a city in the north, and then you find an identical 13.67-gram weight in a city 500 miles to the south. Is the trade relationship between them an undeniable piece of evidence, or is it an inference? Think about it for a second.
It is an inference. You physically hold those identical stones in your hands. That is your evidence. But the trading network itself, that's a cautious, logical conclusion we build to explain why those identical stones are there. Keeping those two concepts separated is absolutely key to being a great historian.
Finally, Section 6, Lesson Recap. Let's tie all these amazing historical clues together.
Because we can't read their writing, every single physical artifact is a massive clue. We've seen how their cities were masterfully planned with grid streets, citadels, and advanced covered drainage. We saw how they mass-produced materials using a standardized 13.67-gram weight system. And we looked at the evidence of artifacts found in Mesopotamia that proves they had an extensive maritime trade network. This civilization was undeniably a powerhouse of ancient innovation. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If all of our modern writing entirely vanished today, what kind of massive inferences would future archaeologists make about us just by looking at our city streets and our standardized products? Keep that in mind next time you walk around your neighborhood, look at the layout, and ask yourself what story it tells. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey through the Indus Valley, and I'll catch you in the next Explainer.